All right, everybody, get those notebooks. I got the man in the building. We flown him in all the way from Indianapolis. He got here just a few minutes ago. Let's
The
go.
Bible is Black History textbook advances the notion that the people of the Bible were people of color, namely black people. Um, the black church must change its hermeneutic that we have been given to understand the Bible. We have embraced a far right-wing evangelical hermeneutic and have allowed that to dictate how we understand the Bible. And this is the same theological tradition that biblically justified slavery, that gave theological validation for Jim Crow, gave theological haven for white supremacist terrorist organization, and gave the theological sanctioning for the oppression of women. And then we take this back and we preach it to the people in our church from the pulpits, and then we allow it to be taught in Sunday school, and then we wonder why millennials are leaving our churches in droves. They know something ain't right intuitively. They may not be able to articulate it, but they know something doesn't sit well with them, and they have begun to push back. And so what we have done with the Bible is Black History, this whole curriculum is designed for us to appreciate the Bible in its historical context. You know, you don't change the text at all. You just begin to re-examine that text in its historical context, and you will come away with a fuller appreciation of the Bible and a fuller appreciation for the ministry of Jesus. And we hope that you are blessed by it, and we hope that you would pick up a copy. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I am so excited. You know what? I rarely get starstruck, but I'm starstruck today. I'm starstruck today, Dr. Williams. Listen, everybody, I'm Dr. Sims, host of the Dr. Sims Daily Show, and I have with me the author of The Bible is Black History, Dr. Theron Williams, all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. Good morning, Pastor. How are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning, Pastor. It's good to see you. Everything is wonderful, man. You're looking well.
Well, thank you, my brother. Well, listen, you looking, I told you before we hit the go button, you looking like new money yourself, dog. Well, listen, let me tell everybody how I found as Ruth happened to be in the field of Boaz, and Boaz happened to see her. Let me tell you how I happened to find this awesome man of God. I got to do a Black History message Sunday at Pastor Joe Jackson Church in Norcross, Georgia, and Black history is not my strong suit, but I'm saying, how can we tie it into the Bible? And I Googled Bible Black History, Dr. Williams popped up. And I Googled his contact information, and I called him yesterday, and he said, Pastor, I'll come on with you because next week is pretty busy. So the Lord has ordered our steps, and here we are. Thank you for being here, Pastor.
Bless your heart, man. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, I thank you for being here. Good morning, everybody. Excuse my manners. I am just so excited this morning. Good morning, Miss Vanessa. Good morning, Mama. Good morning, everybody. Dr. Williams, do this for us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why did you write this book?
Well, I wrote the book because I saw in my congregation several years ago
Yes, sir.
defections of the millennial generation.
Right.
And I thought it was unique to Mount Carmel Church, where I pastored in Indianapolis. I
Right.
thought it was just a Mount Carmel thing. And so I have a good relationship with my young people, and those who had stopped coming to church,
Right.
I invited all of them to a symposium, to
Okay.
a meeting.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to them to get to the heart of it.
Okay.
And we had close to 100 young people in there, millennials,
Right.
those who had left and those who had stayed.
Right.
And I wanted to understand why those who had left, why they left, and the ones who stayed, why did they stay? I wanted to hear it from them.
Yes, sir.
And we started talking, man, and come to find out that many of the young people who had left the church
Right.
had misinformation about the, I was taking it personal. I thought it was something I had done.
Yeah, what y'all pastor done? What I do?
Exactly. What did I do? I can repent. We can talk through it, but it had nothing to do with me.
Wow.
They still respected me. They still loved me, honored me. They showed up to the meeting, most of them, at my invitation. And they had a number of reasons why.
Okay.
I mean, they were all over the board, but there was some consistencies in the answers.
Okay.
Number one, they began to question the efficacy of the church. That is the church still as effective as it was back during the civil rights movements? Many of them said that it wasn't. It had lost its efficacy. It is no longer useful for our community.
Okay.
Number two, they began to question the authenticity of the Bible.
Okay.
They believed that the Bible was a white man's book.
That's right. That's what I hear.
Yeah, designed to oppress black people, and it was used in slavery as a means or a method of brainwashing black people to make them acceptance of their role in the white supremacy system.
Okay.
So they said this to make you docile and compliant to slavery.
Right.
And so they pushed back. They questioned, why continue to have a book as your guide for faith when historically it was used as a tool of oppression?
Okay.
So they questioned the efficacy of the church, and they questioned the authenticity of the Bible, and they even questioned the historicity of Jesus.
Wow.
They said there is no Jesus. Jesus is an invention of the Roman government.
Wow.
And he was invented to be used by the government to keep the underclass oppressed. And now, Doc, and I said, where did y'all get this information from?
Wow.
Where did you get it from?
Come on.
So they started talking and through it. They got it from the internet.
See there.
And so much misinformation and disinformation on the internet.
Come on.
And that wasn't bad enough. They got the information off the internet and started sharing the information on their social media platforms.
That's exactly right.
On social media platforms, you have what they call algorithms.
That's right.
And these algorithms group people who think alike.
That's right.
If you like certain things a number of times, if you engage a number of times, if you make comments, all of that stuff is tracked. And so people who think alike are grouped into one category. They form one virtual community. And so you got all these people who are thinking alike sharing their misinformation.
Wow.
And it just got them all screwed up. I said, you know what?
Come on.
If you respect me, and I know you do, would you give me 1 month, once a week? We will do a Bible study together and give me an opportunity to challenge what you have told me here today.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, give me a week. Give me a month.
That's good.
Every Thursday night, because we have our Bible study on Wednesday. I said, give me Thursday night. Give me 4 Thursdays. Y'all show up. We'll have a Bible study and let me deal with the stuff that you just pointed out. They said, cool. That 1 month turned into 9 months.
That is awesome.
We were going at it for 9 months, man. And so at the end of the presentation, many of them had their hearts changed.
That's good.
And they came back to church. Some of them said, I'm still not coming back.
Yeah, some of them said, no, I'm good, Pastor.
Yeah, so that was cool. And so they came to me and said, Pastor, this is too good to keep to us. You need to put this in book form.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I got all the notes, I might as well go ahead. And the first edition, I just put it in book form. I just wrote it up.
Yes, sir.
And edited it. I really literally threw it together.
Right.
Because I just thought it would be for the members of my church and for their friends.
Right. And little did you know it would blow up like it did.
I had no idea.
Wow.
And I released the book on Amazon.
Right.
I went through that process because Amazon has Kindle Direct Publishing Company.
That's right.
So
That's
I published the book through that, and so I released the book, and I bought a bunch of copies, and I sold them at my church, did a book signing and all of that, and went on about my business.
Right.
I went on Facebook. I went on Amazon. Somebody called me and said, "Man, your book is a #1 new release on Amazon." I'm like, "What?"
You were like, "What?"
Yeah. So I went on Amazon. I'm like, "It's another one new release." Then I looked at on Amazon, on Kindle Direct Publishing.
Right.
You can track how many books you're selling per day.
That's awesome.
And I went on that, and I'm like, all these people buying my book. And then I went back, somebody else called me, "Man, you're the #1 bestseller on Amazon."
Wow.
I'm like, "You're kidding me." So I look, I'm like, "I'm #1 bestseller." And then I started getting it all, because I set up what do you call it? A website.
A website, yeah. Fan page website. Okay.
I started getting all of these emails on my website and people calling,
right,
wanting to interview and inviting me to places to speak. And I'm like, what in the world? Universities and colleges are calling me. And so I said, well, this has taken on a life of its own.
Right.
And I went back through it, and I saw that I wasn't as academic with it as I should have been.
Okay.
Because I was doing it just for my church.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So I had to go back and do a second edition.
Right.
And get it right this time. And so the second edition is what everybody is reading. So it just blew up. I didn't know it would be that popular. And then I did not know, Doc, that there was even a such thing of a group called the Black Hebrew Israelite.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even know that when I was writing it.
Right.
So they see themselves as the original descendants of the people of Israel.
Amen.
And I said to them, Black people are the original descendants of Israel.
Right.
But it's not the West Africans where we came from.
There you go.
They are in Ethiopia. They are in Alexandria. They are in South Africa.
That's right.
Egypt. They're in Africa. And the DNA proves.
That's right.
That their genes have a connection to Israel.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah, and I said to them, but the West African gene is not connected to Israel. So genetically, we are not descendants, those of us who are the descendants of slaves.
There you go.
We are not the descendants of the people of Israel.
That's right.
They were Black people, but we are not their descendants.
That's exactly right. That's a great segue. You explain race so well, and you say race is a social construct. But unpack this for us. Why is race, and talking about our Black history in the Bible, why is that so important?
Well, first of all, I argue that race is a social construct, and I didn't invent that idea. I wish I had, but I didn't.
Right.
It is a social construct, and the reason the issue of race is so important to Black people is that, Doc, we live in a domination system. Walter Wink, in his trilogy, Naming the Powers, When the Powers Fall, and the Powers That Be. I mean, he did this writing back in the 90s.
Come on.
And Walter Wink argues that we live in a domination system, and we have always been in a domination system throughout time. And he defines a domination system as a hierarchical structure with the powerful at the top, and as you descend that hierarchy, the less powerful the rungs become till you get to the bottom. And that's where the vulnerable, the disadvantaged, and the oppressed are at the bottom of that hierarchy. Isabel Wilkerson comes along a couple of years ago in her book, Caste, The Origin of Our Discontent. Right. She says, yes, Dr. Wink, there is a domination system, and we do live in the domination system.
Right.
She said, but the domination system in the United States, the ranking metric is race, where you have the white people at the top. And as you descend that hierarchy, you get to the bottom, and that's where the black people are. So the hierarchical domination system structure, according to Isabel Wilkerson, the ranking metric is race.
There you go.
And so it is important for us to talk about race, because race is the ranking metric of this domination system that we're in.
Good.
Why not talk about it?
We're
at the bottom. We're the ones who really need to be talking about it. White folks at the top don't want to talk about it because they don't want you to know that this is a domination system, and they're at the top controlling the show.
That's exactly right.
That's why it's important. And race was never an issue until the United States, the American slave trade. Race was never an issue.
Right.
Never. Throughout history. Until you get to the United States of America, the American slave trade. Well, now, Ibram Kendi would argue differently.
Okay.
You know, he said the race distinction began in Europe well before the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to argue that. But it really became distinct during the slave trade because whites and blacks, you know, because you had white indentured servants,
right,
and you had black slaves,
right.
They were all slaves,
right.
And the white indentured service and the slaves had more in common because you didn't have a middle class back then. You had the upper class and the bottom.
Right.
There was no middle class. Middle class is a relatively new concept.
Okay.
So you had the people at the top.
Okay.
The landowners and those types. And then you had the people at the bottom. There was no middle class. And so the indentured servants had more in common with the African enslaved than they did with the people at the top. And so they came together and they rebelled. There was several rebellions. Bacon's rebellion. You probably read about that in early American history.
That's right.
Bacon was successful at getting white indentured servants and black enslaved together, forming militias, promising them freedom and equality.
Right.
So Bacon was able to handle that, and they went through the South. In fact, in Virginia, they took over Jamestown. Jamestown was the capital of Virginia.
That's right.
They took it over, burnt it to the ground. It was so powerful. And so the ruling class, the elites, the whites, ruling class said, we got to do something about this.
Wow.
You know,
wow.
We can't allow the indentured poor and the enslaved blacks to come together. We got to do something about it. So what they did was they separated them according to the color of their skin.
Wow.
And said to the white indentured servants, because you're white, you are part of our class.
Wow.
And we're going to give you privilege based upon the color of your skin to distinguish you socially from black people.
Wow.
And one of the jobs that they gave these indentured servants, the poor whites, was to patrol blacks. That's where the police state comes in.
Wow.
Because the elite whites gave poor whites the authority over blacks.
Wow.
So you see the hierarchy is whites up here and black down here for the purpose of keeping them separated.
Wow.
Because they knew you bring them together, it's going to be a problem for the ruling class.
Right.
That's where the racial distinction comes in. And that's why you have white privilege. That's the foundation of it.
Wow, that's deep, Pastor. That is deep. This is so good, man. We could talk to you all day, Dr. Williams. We appreciate you being here. That again, a great segue into, I loved when you start talking about mitochondrial DNA. Man, I sat up in the car. I was like, go on and preach, Dr. Williams. And you talked about Dr. Can did her work to show that Eve, mitochondrial Eve in the Bible is a black woman. And then you said, don't leave the men out. Dr. Wells did his research for black Adam. So unpack that for us to show us scientifically our foreparents, Adam and Eve, were people of color, black people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Rebecca Can was looking for the mother of modern humans, whom the Bible identifies as Eve.
Right.
And she went throughout the world collecting the mitochondrial DNA from women. You know, I mean, we all have mitochondrial DNA in us, but you can only get it from females. Females has mitochondrial. So obviously, if she's looking for the mother of modern humans, she would trace the mitochondrial DNA.
Amen.
And she traced it back to East Africa. I think it's close to like 100,000 years ago.
Okay.
Where she said, here is the origin. Here is where this mitochondrial DNA began.
Come on.
See, one of the things about DNA.
Okay.
That, you know, because Dr. Spencer Wells traced the Y chromosome, because women have two X chromosomes, men have an X and a Y chromosome.
That's right.
So if he's going to trace the male DNA, he would obviously trace the Y chromosome. Mitochondrial DNA and the Y chromosomal DNA, they have what they call they have tracks, they have mutations in it.
Okay.
So my father, well, let's go back to my great-grandfather.
Okay.
Passed down his Y chromosome to my grandfather.
Okay.
And he inherited his Y chromosome from his forefathers. So they had all of these marks in it. They had all of these distinctions in it.
Right.
And so when my grandfather got his Y chromosome, he had all of the mutations, and then he added his mutation to it.
Okay.
His unique mutation. Then he passed it to my grandfather, who inherited all of the mutations from his forefathers and added his unique mutation. Then he got it to my father, who added his unique mutation. To me, I got my unique one, passed it to my son. He has his, and then my grandson. So you have all of these mutations, and every generation has a new unique mutation. So the theory is, if I can find out where the first mutation took place in this Y chromosome, then I will have the father of modern humans. And the same thing is with the mitochondria. They also have mutations. So Dr. Rebecca Can and Dr. Spencer Wells, both of whom are white, I might add.
That's right.
Trace back the DNA, the first mutations back to East Africa, indicating that the mother and father of modern humans were black people. Then they unearthed remains of people, and they did the carbon dating to make sure that they dated back to the period where the DNA was said, the time period where the DNA was supposed to have started. And they unearthed skulls, and then they got forensic scientists to make busts of what they believe the first humans looked like.
And I just put it up on the screen for us. I just put it up on the screen.
You got Adam, and you got it. Now let me ask you this.
Talk to me, Doc. Talk to me, Doc.
When have you ever, in any of your Christian education literature, saw Adam and Eve look like that?
Man, we were talking before we came on. Again, good morning, everybody. Hey, Dr. Cooper. Hey, David. Hey, Miss Vanessa. Hey, everybody. Hey, Mama. Glad y'all are here today. I'm so excited to have Dr. Williams here today. Isn't this some good information? We were talking before we got on. When we grew up, Jesus was white. Adam and Eve were blonde hair, blue eyes. When she got the fruit from the serpent, everybody in the Bible were white people. We watched the Ten Commandments. Charlton Heston played Moses. Yul Brynner, a Russian Scandinavian kind of guy, played Pharaoh. So we didn't see people that looked like us in the Bible stories. And we come to find out now, black, that's in the Bible. Dog.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. Okay, now let's shift a few gears. The picture, the representation of Jesus, we got to deconstruct that, because Jesus is this white representation, a white man. And you know the Bible, we'll talk about Revelation 1:14-15 in a moment. But where did that picture of Jesus come from? The white Jesus, where did that even come from?
Okay, well, the earliest Jesus depictions, the earliest we have, are from the 3rd century AD. Prior to that, we don't have any known depictions of Jesus.
Right.
When the early church in the 3rd century AD started inventing Jesus depictions, they were not trying to capture the actual historical depiction of Jesus.
Right.
They created these depictions for theological reasons.
Right.
At least 3. Number 1, they invented these images of Jesus to refute Docetism.
Okay.
Docetism was a philosophical ideology,
right,
that said Jesus Christ was not a human.
Okay.
But he was a ghost. He was a phantasm. He was a spirit that projected a human image.
Right.
Because the Docetists said that God was too holy to come in contact with something that is as debased and sinful as human flesh.
As flesh, okay.
So that Jesus was not flesh and blood, but he was a spirit, a ghost, a phantasm. The early church refuted that. And the way they refuted it was by creating an image of Jesus. Because you can't create the image of a ghost, of a spirit.
That's right.
You can't capture that on canvas or on the wall or on the surface of their worship space.
Right.
So that was the first reason for the creation of the image of Jesus. It was not to capture his image.
Right.
But it was to refute the fact that it was to refute the idea of Docetism.
Okay.
The other reason they created the image of Jesus was to reflect the ethnic makeup of that worshiping community.
Right.
So they created an image of Jesus to reflect how the people in that particular Christian community look.
Right.
You know, so in Jesus, I'm sorry, Doc.
You okay?
So in Jesus, you have the embodiment of the ethnic community that worshiped him.
Right.
It was not to capture his historical likeness, but it was more of a reflection of the worshiping community.
Right.
And when you look at the earliest depictions of Jesus, they are always black.
Yep, I got a screenshot of him right above your head.
And, that lets us know not so much what the color of Jesus was, but what the color and ethnic makeup was of that early worshiping community.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And the third reason was that Christianity emerged out of a highly paganistic culture.
Right.
And the pagans had their depictions of God. They were polytheistic. They had gods everywhere, you know. And Christianity was unique in that it was monotheistic, and the God that they worshiped was a man who was crucified.
That's right.
And rose from the dead. And that was way out there.
That's right.
You know, the pagans was like, this is not right. And so the father of Jesus Christ forbid anybody to make any graven images of him. But there was no proscriptions on them making an image of the Son.
Right, right.
So
that's
they
right.
invented images of Jesus to say, this is who represents us. So those are the three reasons why the early depictions of Jesus emerged in the early church. Now, you get to Europe, and the great masters, and just like the early church, Europeans invented an image of Jesus that reflect their ethnicity.
That's right.
Like everybody else did.
That's right.
You know, so it was innocuous at first.
That's right.
But what cemented the image of white Jesus was that the great masters, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, they started creating these masterpieces, you know, and then when these masterpieces came, then it cemented Jesus not as a reflection of the European community, but it was actually how the historical Jesus looked.
Right.
And so when slavery started, you have these white people taking this image, not so much concerned about it representing white people, but they used it as a justification to dominate other people.
That's exactly right.
Look whose side God is on. He's on our side. And here's proof that he's on our side. He is a white man.
Wow. Wow.
And so that's how we get this. And you know, you got the salmon head, that image you got up.
Yeah.
Right? The salmon head was invented in 1940.
Right.
And in the 20th century, it has been replicated 500 million times.
That's right.
It is the most replicated image in history.
Yeah.
Nothing has been replicated more than the salmon head image of Jesus that was invented in 1940. We stopped counting in the 21st century.
That's right.
At the end of the 20th century, it was at 500 million replications worldwide.
Wow.
You know, and we come to know now, Doc, that Jesus didn't look like that. Even white people are saying, well, he didn't look like that.
Come on.
Well, if we know he didn't look like that,
thank you.
Why do we keep using this image to represent Jesus?
Come on, dog. Come on, dog.
And the answer is that image is a mascot for white supremacy.
Yeah, you bet.
They don't want a Messiah.
Wow.
They want a master.
Boy, you done said something. You just said something. And you remember the episode on Good Times where JJ painted black Jesus and James wanted to replace the white Jesus with black Jesus because their luck was turning. And Esther, Florida, lost her mind because of white Jesus, and that's the Jesus that we grew up on, and Florida was stomping her foot. We can't replace Jesus. We can't replace Jesus. No, James was like, it don't matter to me, cause black Jesus working for us.
because all of the good stuff that started happening when they hung black Jesus on the wall.
Yeah,
all that good stuff started happening in the Evans household.
Yeah.
But Florida, watch this, Florida would rather suffer with white Jesus.
Isn't that amazing?
With black Jesus.
Isn't that amazing? And that one show really shows us where we are. Now, to your point, you just said in the Bible, Revelations 1:14-15, and you talked about this with another pastor. Revelation 1:14 says his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. That bass in his voice, that bass. And so a lot of people like to argue, oh, that's just an allegory. That's not real. But John on the Isle of Patmos saw Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Doc.
Isn't it interesting how they make it allegorical?
Come on.
When they disagree with the historical.
Come on now.
They would turn it into an allegory.
Wow.
Rather than history. That's why they have a problem with Moses and the Red Sea.
That's exactly right.
You know, it's Moses is a social justice leader.
Come on.
Leading people against Egyptian oppression, saying, let my people go. That's what that story is about.
That's exactly right.
But when white evangelicals get it, they say, oh no, it's allegorical. It's the land of Egypt is allegory for sin.
Right.
And the Israelites living in Egypt means Christians living in sin. Moses is a type of Christ.
That's right.
And he leads people through the Red Sea, which is a type of a baptism, and bring them over into the wilderness of Zin, which is the Christian journey. And then when they cross over into Canaan, that's allegorical for the Christian dying and going to heaven in Canaan land. So they turn it into an allegory when they don't like the history.
Wow.
You know. So, you know, but then when you get to Jesus in the New Testament, the verse that you just read in Revelation, they don't like the history. So again, they turn it into an allegory.
Well,
they don't like the history.
They don't. You
turn it into an allegory.
Yeah, you remind me so much of my dad. My dad would simply say, "Oh, I'm a simple man. It's simple. It's easy to me." John saw Jesus. He was in the spirit on the Lord day, and he saw Jesus. Man, my daddy would walk that thing down, Pastor.
But not only that, did he see Jesus? He was one of his disciples. He had been with Jesus for 3 years.
Come on, Dr. Williams. Come on.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. So what do we do going forward, Doc? What do we do going forward? What has been your heart's desire? You produced this book, it exploded on you. You got another book coming out talking about white theology and its impact on the black church. What's your heart now? What would you have Black America know today?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And that's the reason I wrote Black Church, White Theology, how white evangelicalism controls the black church. What I want us to do going forward is for the black church. Well, now, you know, Robert P. Jones wrote that book, White Too Long.
White Too Long.
Oh, my goodness, man. This is a white guy who wrote a book called White Too Long, and he talked about the legacy of white supremacy on American Christianity.
My Lord.
Yeah, man. He doesn't pull any punches, and he's telling the white church, look at your history. Your theology is just fraught with white supremacist sentiments. It's all in your theology, and it's alive and well today in the white church.
It sure is.
So challenging white Christians to look at your history. My book, Black Church, White Theology, on the other hand, is not directed to white people. I want them to read it.
Yes, sir.
But it's directed to the black church because we have, Doc, for the most part, have embraced a theology that historically has justified our oppression. We talked about that hierarchy at the beginning of our conversation,
right?
That Walter Wink talks about and Isabel Wilkerson talked about. That hierarchy with whites on the top and blacks at the bottom.
Right.
White theology, Doc, is designed in part to give theological justification for the existence of that hierarchy. It justifies white domination at the top.
Right.
So now you have black theology that, we say James Cone is the father of that. You have liberation theology.
Right.
Gutierrez, that Latino, is the father of that. He's recognized. You have womanist theology.
Right.
And all of these theologies, Doc, emerge from the same social construct, that hierarchical construct.
Right.
And those blacks, Latinos, women, and others, we're at the bottom. And our theology pushes back against domination.
Right.
White theology is constructed by the people at the top that justifies white domination.
Oh man, and they subscribe to it too. You can't tell them they wrong.
Yeah. So you have black theology pushing up, white theology pushing down.
Gotcha.
Liberation theology pushing up, white theology pushing down.
Wow.
Womanist theology pushing up, white theology pushing down. So now if black people abandon black theology and accept white theology,
wow,
you are participating and are complicit in your own oppression. Because you have adopted a theology that's designed to keep you at the bottom. And
Lord.
That's what you're using to inform your preaching, your teaching, your biblical hermeneutic, your scriptural exegesis, and the ministry of your church. You're using white theology.
My Lord.
So the slave master doesn't have to stand over you and tell you what to preach. He have infected you with his theology, so you're preaching what he wants you to preach, whether he's standing over you with a gun or not. So I want us to have this conversation.
We have a very rich history, man, and we can hold our head up high because our Savior looks like us, Doc.
That's right.
That is so good, man. That is so good. So how can people follow you and get your book and stay close to Dr. Theron Williams?
Okay, you can go to my website, BibleIsBlackHistory.com. And from there, you can sign up to Instagram, to Twitter, and to all of the other social media.
That is good, man. So when is your next book due to come out? What's the release date?
It was supposed to come out, and we were trying to get it out in February.
Yes, sir.
We kept running into stuff, so it'll be out, no question. It'll be out in March.
Well, tell your team we sitting on ready. We ready to go. We ready. Okay. We want it. You tell your team they need to hurry up.
Yeah, I put a rush on this thing, but we want it right, Doc. We want it right when it comes out. It has to be right.
Well, we appreciate you so much, and God bless you, my friend, and just appreciate you so much, and thank you for coming on such short notice, man. God bless you tremendously, my brother, and you got a new friend in me, Doc.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Let's stay in touch.
Oh, trust me, we will, Doc. Well, listen, everybody, that's been Dr. Theron Williams, my brother from another mother. Y'all hold tight, and we're going to wrap the show up.
Hey now, if you'd like to donate today to the Dr. Walter Sims Show, please donate at Cash App, $Walter H. Sims. Yes, that's Cash App, $WALTERHSIMS. That's Cash App, $Walter.
Listen, guys, thank y'all for being here today. I thought that was a great interview, eye-opening, mind-blowing, whatever adjective you want to use. Hey, Dr. Cooper. Hey, Dr. Troy. Hey, David. I see David today at 1:30. We got a call today at 1:30. Hey, Rose. Hey, Miss Vanessa. Hey, Mama. I hope y'all took good notes. And what's the takeaway? We are somebody. Like I said earlier when I introduced Dr. Theron Williams, I have to do a Black History program Sunday in Atlanta. And it got me to thinking Bible, Black History. I Googled it and he popped up. We, as a people of color, as Black people, we have a great history. We have a rich history. And we did not, the Bible, God, and all of that just didn't show up when our enslaved foreparents got to America. We're the first man, first woman, Adam, Eve. You saw their picture. They looked like us. Okay? And we should not feel less than. 2/3 of our humanity are people of color. Okay? All our foreparents, Adam and Eve, we come from Adam and Eve, people of color. They are black. They were black. We come from one. One nation has come from, all people have come from Adam and Eve. So you need to tell your brother and sister, we are somebody. Our history is rich. We come from kings and queens. We were never slaves. We were enslaved. Write this in your notes. We were never slaves. We were enslaved by some terrorists, for the lack of a better word. We were enslaved. We were never slaves. And we should hold our head up high and fulfill our purpose, fulfill our calling, knowing that our Savior looks like you and I. Y'all, this has blessed me. Y'all share this interview with 3 of your followers. Y'all share this interview and make sure you download. You can get it on Kindle or you can get the hard copy. Go get Dr. Theron Williams' book, The Bible is Black History. I download it. It's on my Kindle. I got it. And the Kindle version only $10. Go get it. Happy Black History Month. Happy Love Day. Happy Love Month as well. Love is a verb. Love is what it does, not what it says. All right? And show love every day. You shouldn't have to ask your loved one, do they love you? You ought to be able to see it. Amen. It's been a great show today. Again, thank y'all for being here. If you're there on my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button so you know when I go live. Turn on the bell notification so you know when I go live. And Dr. Cooper, thank you for being here today. And congratulations on the award that you just won. Dr. Cooper is awesome. Lou Cooper, Dr. Lou Cooper is awesome. They're a power couple. They're so awesome. Amen, Dr. Troy. Happy Love Month, everybody. I love every one of you. And thank you for being my friend. I love you. And everything is going to be all right. And we got to continue to hold up the bloodstained banner. And when you hear our young people say, well, the Bible ain't for us no more. The Bible, the church don't work no more. Jesus, he a white man God. No. He looks like you and I. Revelation 1:14 and 15. All right. Well, listen, y'all remember, if you stay high on life, life is going to stay high on you. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you real soon. All right. God bless you. Love you. Mwah. All right.